Yeah, I'm new to recording this stuff. I really am trying hard, but I have done this video 10 times, and for some reason my software keeps losing the videos I do. So this is my third time recording this. But we're going to get this done one way or another. We are absolutely going to get this done. So once again, let's go over Kamala's CNN interview and see how we do. Just fun fact, I'm going to be starting and stopping the video a lot, and going over the absolute lies that she tells and explaining different things. I'll be, just so you know, I will be stopping the video a lot. So just so you know.
Vice President, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks. You have a mic right here.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
so much.
evening, everyone. Good evening.
Thanks so much for being with us. We're going to get to the audience in just a second. I want to start by asking you, though, for weeks you have been calling Donald Trump unstable, unhinged. You've called him dangerous. You've quoted General Milley recently, who called him a fascist. Today, you quoted General Kelly, who said that Trump repeatedly praised Hitler.
Yeah.
But there are tens of millions of Americans right now who have heard all those things, and they don't buy it, or even if they do, they're still going to vote for Donald Trump. He's arguably more popular now than ever. You have 13 days to go. What do you say to those voters to convince them? Because some of them are in this room.
Sure, and I thank you all for taking the time to be here. And you could be doing a number of other things with your time. So this really is proof that we love our country. People are engaged, Anderson, and really want to talk about the issues. And so the issue that you raise, yes, I do believe that Donald Trump is unstable, increasingly unstable, and unfit.
First point on this. For 4 years, she has been trying to convince the American public that Joe Biden was mentally fit. He's running circles around his own staff. He's the smartest person she's ever known. The last one in the room in all decisions. He's cognitively all there. For 4 years, this is what she's been saying. And for 4 years, it was a lie. And we found out it was a lie during the Trump and Biden debate. And she still will say, no, Biden's fine. There's nothing wrong with him. That's why they haven't done the 25th Amendment on him. Yet he's not the one. He has never been the one running this country. It's been her. It's been his wife. It's been the staff, the unelected officials, the Secretary of State, all of that have been making the decisions on Joe's behalf. And they've only trampled him out for executive order signatures or photo ops. It's the only time you ever see Joe now. But we're supposed to believe now that Trump is all of the things that she's saying, all while she's still saying there's nothing wrong with Joe Biden.
To serve. And I don't necessarily think that everyone has heard what you and I have heard repeatedly, which is the people who know Donald Trump best, the people who worked with him in the White House, in the Situation Room, in the Oval Office, all Republicans, by the way, who served in his administration, his former chief of staff, his national security advisor, former secretaries of defense, and his vice president have all called him unfit and dangerous. They have said explicitly he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. They have said he should never again serve as president of the...
All of these people that she's naming, he's either fired or has talked trash on because he considered them to be incompetent. And he has talked shit about them. So retribution anger, resentment is a real thing in this regard. And when your feelings get hurt and you're the kind of man like Flynn was, where was at the congressional hearings, I want to understand white anger. I want to understand why white men are so angry and have such toxic masculinity. Really? Okay. You're a low-T little bitch, and this is why you're disparaging your former boss.
United States. We know that is why Mike Pence is not running with him again, why the job was empty. And then today we learned that John Kelly, a 4-star Marine general, who is his longest-serving chief of staff, gave an interview recently in the last 2 weeks of this election, talking about how dangerous Donald Trump is. And I think one has to think about, why would someone who served with him, who is not political, a 4-star Marine general, why is he telling the...
Yeah, why is he saying these things? It couldn't be that he knows if Trump gets elected that he's out of job. He's going to get replaced with someone who is loyal to Trump and will have Trump's back in a pinch when people like her and Flynn are doing everything they can to disparage him, or when the Democrat senators and congressmen are doing everything they can to 25th Amendment him. No, it couldn't be that. It couldn't be that at all, right?
The American people now. And frankly, I think of it as he's just putting out a 911 call to the American people. Understand what could happen if Donald Trump were back in the White House. And this time, we must take very seriously those folks who knew him best and who were career people are not going to be there to hold him.
Keyword, career people that know their career is over the second Donald Trump takes that oath of office.
Back. At least before, there were folks who we know what he would say, but they would restrain him. Imagine now Donald Trump in the Oval Office, in the Situation Room. He who has openly admired dictators, said he would be a dictator on day one. The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff has said he is a fascist to the core. So I think that when the American people reflect, especially those who are undecided, on who you should listen to, don't take my word for it. In fact, go online and listen to John Kelly, his voice, talking about what he thinks of Donald Trump 2 weeks before the election. Because I think we all know, to your point, Anderson, it is close, but there are undecided voters who clearly, by being here, have an open mind, want to talk in a way that is grounded in issues and fact. And when they hear these facts, I think it compels a lot of people to be concerned about the future of our country with Donald Trump at the lead.
You've quoted General Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I also believe that the people who know him best on this subject should be trusted. Again, look at their careers. These are not people, with the exception, I think, of only Mike Pence. These were not politicians. These are career people who have...
If you've ever been in the military, like me, you know it's extremely political in the military. That's why a lot of people who can't get promoted end up leaving, because of all the political bullshit. You have to know someone to know someone to know someone to get promoted past staff sergeant up to a Louis, a first lieutenant or a second lieutenant. To get into officer, not to get beyond non-com, you have to know somebody that knows somebody that's going to approve your rank change. That doesn't happen without politics.
Have served in the highest roles in national security, who have served as generals in our military, who are highly respected, talking about the person who would be commander-in-chief, not to mention what we know and what they've told us about how he talks about the military, servicemen and...
Here we go with the suckers and losers. Debunked. In Snopes. There appears to be no evidence of an audio or video recording of the remarks in question, nor was there any documentation such as transcripts or presidential notes or independently confirmed or denied alleged quotes. It was never authenticated. That was Snopes. The Atlantic. It was never proven to be true, yet they keep repeating it. But the one saying it is Flynn and Mark.
Women. Referring to them as suckers and losers. How he demeans people who have taken an oath to sacrifice their life for our country. And I do believe, Anderson, that part of this is why, even just this week, I traveled this state and others with Liz Cheney, former Congress member who was a very high-ranking Republican. She has endorsed me. Her father, the former Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, is voting for me. Over 400 previous members of...
Warmongers are wanting to back her. Why? Because we are closer than we have ever been to World War III.
The administration from Ronald Reagan to both Presidents Bush to Donald Trump even have endorsed my candidacy. And the reason why among them is a legitimate fear based on Donald Trump's words and actions that he will not obey an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. He himself has...
Now, I want to address this lie that he won't obey the Constitution. He wants to get rid of the Constitution. He doesn't obey his oath of office. His oath of office kept him from making some decisions that would have violated the Constitution when he was president. Now, funny how she has violated her oath of office more than once in so many different ways. With the border issue, she has vowed to, she took an oath of office to defend the Constitution and obey all laws, yet they have been breaking federal law every single moment of every single day in regards to the border. With the catch and release, that's breaking federal law. Allowing all these fraudulent asylum claims to go with nothing more than a 10-year court date, that is violating federal law. That violates her oath of office. Notice how they've been breaking their oath of office, all while blaming Trump will do that. Though he didn't do it when he was in office the first time. So why would he do it now?
Said he would terminate the Constitution of the United States and wants to earn your vote to stand again behind the seal of the President of the United States? No one standing behind the seal of the President of the United States of America.
This faux outrage, they are violating their oath of office in regards to Joe Biden and the fact that they've been allowing for the last 4 years unelected bureaucrats to run this country. That's a violation of your oath of office. Because you've been hiding the fact that Joe Biden is gone and unfit for duty. You've been hiding it for 4 years. That's a violation of your oath of office. Your duty is not to the president, but to those that elected you. And you have been violating that trust and that oath for 4 years. Projection much? You're going to hear a lot of projection of what the Democrats have been doing onto Donald Trump of what he might do. Yeah, I know we're doing this, but this is what Donald Trump is going to do. Really? Because we've been seeing you guys do this shit for 4 years. You have not been nominated by the people to run for president, yet here we are. You cooed the presidential nominee to have yourself installed as the candidate. But yet you received no votes. You did not run for president. But you exceeded what you were eligible to do. You prevented anyone else from being able to run against Joe Biden, like RFK, Tulsi Gabbard. They all had to change their affiliation in order to run against Joe Biden. They had to leave the Democrat Party and register as independent in order to be able to run in the presidential race. Whereas some states refused to allow them to run against Joe Biden and nominated Joe Biden as their candidate in 2021. Or no, I beg your pardon, in 2023. The Democrats said, no, nobody's running against Joe. Joe is our nominee. No election is going to be held for the Democrat ticket. Several states did that, and you can look it up. Florida was one of them. They said, we're not having a Democrat presidential race. Joe Biden is our presidential nominee by default.
Should be in that position saying they want to terminate the Constitution of the United States.
This is Annalise Keene. She's from Philadelphia. She works as a fundraiser for Habitat for Humanity. She's registered with no party affiliation. She says she's a Democrat. She's leaning toward voting for you, but says she's yet to make her final decision in part because of the conflict in the Middle East. Annalise?
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Vice President. My question is, as president, what would you do to ensure not another Palestinian dies due to bombs being funded by U.S. tax dollars?
So I will say, and I think this is to your point, far too many innocent Palestinian civilians have been killed. It's unconscionable. And we are now at a place where with Sinwar's death, I do believe we have an opportunity to end this war, bring the hostages home, bring relief to the Palestinian people, and work toward a two-state solution where Israel and the Palestinians in equal measure have security, where the Palestinian people have dignity, self-determination, and the safety that they so rightly deserve.
What do you say to voters who are thinking about supporting a third party candidate or staying on the couch, not voting at all because of this issue?
Listen, I am not going to deny the strong feelings that people have. I don't know that anyone who has seen the images who would not have strong feelings about what has happened, much less those who have relatives who have died and been killed. And I know people and I've talked with people. So I appreciate that. But I also do know that for many people who care about this issue, they also care about bringing down the price of groceries. They also care about our democracy and not having a president of the United States who admires dictators and is a fascist. They also care about the fact that we need practical, common sense solutions from a leader who is willing to work across the
I'm gonna say this. When she did the tie-breaking vote that on those huge omnibus bills, the infrastructure bill, and the what is it? The Bidenomics bill, just put it that way. I can't think of the name. When she did the tie-breaking vote on those two huge bills, knowing that no economist agreed with these bills because it was not good for our economy, it would drive up inflation and make living almost impossible for the poorest of the poor. She didn't care. She didn't care. She did it anyways. Voted for all of this spending that has us now at $38 trillion in debt, which every second of every day collects billions in interest occurred against us, thereby driving up every day more of what we owe. When you knowingly pass a bill that is going to drive everything up, you are making an educated guess or an educated decision that says, I really don't care about the American people. I just want these special interests paid for getting us elected, and this is what they want, so we're going to go ahead and do it, irregardless of how it affects the American people. I am a deep state puppet, so my puppet master says I must vote yes on this. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I got nothing for you at that point because you knew what you were doing. You were told the big omnibus bills were going to cause harm to the poorest of the poor, and you voted for it anyways. And it was just nothing more than the Green New Deal on steroids. So you don't get to claim that you care about American people and our suffering at our dinner table when you're the one that broke the tie. You're the one that made the tie-breaking vote that caused all this. Claim fucking responsibility for your actions. You're the one that imported 22 million illegal migrants who have caused the death and destruction of citizens, small towns, and put them not in middle class suburbs. You didn't put these people in middle class suburbs. You didn't put them in the rich suburbs. You put them in the low income housing projects and made their life worse, because now they have to fight to survive again. Surviving was already hard, but now you throw in hundreds of thousands of illegals who are sucking up the resources in these cities, and people are losing their place to live because the government is going to pay more money for the migrants to live than they will for their own citizens to live. No, fuck you very much.
On behalf of the American people and not themselves. They want a president who cares about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body. Understanding that we're not trying to change anyone's belief, but let's not have the government telling women what to do with their body.
I want you to meet Beth Sandberg. She's a realtor, a mom of 4 from Ballackinwood, Pennsylvania. She's a registered Democrat, says she's undecided because of concerns about anti-Semitism. Beth?
Hi, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Beth.
you for remembering we need to bring the hostages home.
Of course.
The rise of anti-Semitism and violence from anti-Semitism has risen greatly on college campuses and on our city streets in the last year. How would you combat this growing trend and protect our young adults?
Thank you, Beth. You are right, and I will say that we have seen a rise in anti-Semitism. It is something that we have to be honest about and we have to deal with. As Attorney General, I actually published a hate crimes report.
But what have you done to combat what's going on the college campuses right now? Nothing. Not a damn thing. National Guard wasn't called in to protect Jewish students. No one has been prosecuted for beating up Jewish students with hate crimes enhancements. Nothing. They haven't even been arrested. And they have chased Jewish students into attics and libraries where they had to lock the doors to protect the Jewish students from the mob that was being allowed to do what they did during school time.
On a regular basis, and anti-Semitism was among the highest forms of hate in our country, and this was before October 7. And we know what we've seen since. Part of what we've got to do is talk with people so that they understand what are the tropes, what are the roots of what we are seeing, so that we can actually have people be more understanding. We need to have laws in place that make those who would commit crimes on behalf of anti-Semitism and hate, that they pay a serious...
We do have laws in place. We have those laws in place. Oh shit, lady, we have those laws in place. They're called hate crime enhancements. Which one of those students that beat up a Jewish student that has been arrested and charged with a hate crime enhancement? Oh, that's right, none of them. None. No. They've only been charged with trespassing. That's all they've been charged with, despite the fact that they chased Jewish students into attics and libraries for their safety. Chased them down, and if they caught them, they beat the shit out of them. None of them have been charged with a hate crime, just trespassing. Not even menacing. None of them have been charged with menacing. Not one. Just trespassing.
Is consequence. We need to have the deterrent so that doesn't happen. We need to ensure that college students are safe in their school and feel safe to be able to go to class. But I'm going to tell you what doesn't help. Again, I invite you to listen and go online to listen to John Kelly, the former chief of staff of Donald Trump, who has told us, Donald Trump said, why aren't my generals like those of Hitler's? like Hitler, who has referred several times, we've heard the reports for years.
Do you believe Donald Trump is anti-Semitic?
I believe Donald Trump is a danger to the well-being and security of America.
See, she can't say he's anti-Semitic because she knows that's a lie. She's the one that refused to meet with Netanyahu twice when he came to this nation, but Donald Trump has met with him. He met with him the second trip he came before he went to D.C. So she can't honestly say he's anti-Semitic, but she insinuates it by saying the things that she's saying, even though she has no proof that he actually said that.
He has said that he's casting himself as a protector of Israel. Do you believe you would be more pro-Israel than Donald Trump?
I believe that Donald Trump is dangerous. I believe that when you have a president of the United States who has said to his generals, who work for him because he is commander-in-chief, these conversations, I assume many of them took place in the Oval Office. And if the president of the United States, the commander-in-chief, is saying to his generals, in essence, why can't you be more like Hitler's generals? Anderson? Come on. This is a serious, serious issue. And we know who he is. He admires dictators, sending love letters back and forth with Kim Jong-un. Talks about
keeping the lines of communication open with South Korea, who has nuclear capability. It's not a love letter. It's diplomatic talks to keep him from using them on us, which is a real possibility because the man has no problem starving his own people.
the president of Russia, and then most recently the reports are that in the height of COVID, when most Americans could not get their hands on a COVID test, Americans were dying by the hundreds a day. He secretly sent COVID tests to the president of Russia for his personal use. So again, this election in 13 days is presenting the American people with a very significant decision. And on the one side, on this issue of who is going to model what it means to use the bully pulpit of the President of the United States in a manner that in tone, word, and deed is about lifting up our discourse, fighting against hate, as opposed to fanning the flames of hate which don't.
The only one that is fanning the flames of hate is you guys with your rhetoric. He's worse than Hitler. He admires Hitler generals. You guys are making up all these lies. Where's the proof that he said this? Other than hearsay and conjecture. There's nothing that says he said that. Just another person throwing out, oh, well, say he said this, because they'll really fall for that shit. Just like the Russia scam that we got hit with in 2016.
Donald Trump does consistently. I'm going to tell you, we are an incredible country, and we love our country. Y'all wouldn't be here unless we love our country.
Except you're not an American. You were raised in Canada. You were raised in Canada. You were not raised here in the United States. You didn't come here till you almost went to college.
And there are certain things where we've just got to come together and realize that we do believe in the importance of healthy debate on real issues, but there are certain standards we've got to have. And, you know, another point that even John Kelly talked about, I believe, and many have, is January 6th.
Oh, jeez.
Where
that is the only thing they've got is January 6th. Well, what about the summer of love? The summers of love. Where cities were burned to the ground, people were being murdered in cold blood, and you were bailing out rioters who burned down fucking courthouses, police stations, small business owners who lost everything. Everything was tied up in their little bodega or whatever, and it was burned to the fucking ground. You were raising money and bailing out those people. And all you've got in your rebuttal is January 6th. That's it. Where he told them to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Don't hurt the police. Do whatever they say. Be peaceful. But make your voices. That's our right. That is our absolute right. And if the police had not started shooting protesters in the face with pepper balls, and if the FBI agent plants that were inside the group pretending to be Trump supporters hadn't egged some of that shit on, it would have never fucking happened.
You have the President of the United States defying the will of the people in a free and fair election and unleashing a violent mob who attacked the United States Capitol. 140 law enforcement officers were attacked. Some were killed. And so
And that's another lie that they love to tell. None were killed. None. None of them were killed. One died the next day of a heart attack. Several ate their guns. And one was run down while he was walking his beat at the Capitol by a black nationalist.
I say that to say the American people deserve to have a president who encourages healthy debate, works across the aisle, not afraid of good ideas wherever they come from, but also maintains certain standards about how we think about the role and the responsibility, and certainly not comparing oneself in a clearly admiring way to Hitler.
And we are back with Vice President Kamala Harris. I want you to meet Rob McPherson. He's the Chief Marketing Officer for a local organization. He's registered Republican from Media, Pennsylvania, who told us he's leaning towards voting for you, but has concerns about what he calls shifts in your policy positions. Rob?
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Vice President Harris. So welcome to Delco.
Thank you.
Here in Delco, we pride ourselves on being authentic. And much of what we have seen much of what you've been saying with regard to issues like law and order and fracking reflect a more centrist view than what people are used to hearing from Kamala Harris, leaving some voters to wonder about the authenticity of your current, more moderate positions. Can you talk a little bit about how your positions have shifted and why?
Sure, and thank you. So first of all, on fracking, I've been very clear. We kind of dispensed with this in 2020. I'm not going to ban fracking. I did not as vice president. In fact, as vice president, I cast the tie-breaking vote that now has opened up more fracking leases
that have been taken out of the bill, and no fracking leases have been done since that bill.
My value on the issue of what we need to do to invest in a clean energy economy and a clean energy future has not changed. But frankly, I now have the experience and perspective of having been vice president for almost 4 years. I've traveled the country. I know that we can invest in a clean energy economy and still not ban fracking and still work toward what we need to do to create more jobs and create U.S.-based jobs in a way that will be globally competitive. On the issue of law and order, as you mentioned, I think there's just a whole lot of misinformation, to be honest with you. I have personally prosecuted very serious crime. It's how I started my career. I spent most of my career as a prosecutor, not in Washington, D.C. And
you have been a political hack since you were fucking Willie Brown. That's how you got your position. That's how you were able to move up in politics to district attorney, where you never prosecuted one fucking case. I lived in California, so I know. She never personally prosecuted anything. She was the district attorney. She didn't have to she had other people that did. And when she became AG, she claimed she prosecuted gangs and cartels. She never prosecuted them. She was in San Francisco. All that shit took place in Southern California, not northern. She was 9 hours away from the border. 9 hours away from the border. That's hundreds of miles away. She never prosecuted transnational criminal cartels. That was all done in Southern California. Southern California.
And as my first priority had and remains as a first priority to me, the safety of the American people. So that has not changed. And sadly, I think that there's a bit of misinformation, if not more than a bit. But I'm glad that you raised the subject so that I can address it. But just if you don't mind, just let me just finish. Because I think the spirit of your question is really important, and I'm glad you raised it. Our country deserves to have a president of the United States who is not afraid of good ideas and does not stand on pride. If a perspective needs to be informed by different points of view to build consensus and to have a common sense approach, I'm never going to shy away from good ideas. And I'm not going to feel the need to have pride associated with a position that I've taken when the important thing is to build consensus to fix problems. I believe in fixing problems. I love fixing problems. And so I pledge to you to be a president who not only works for all Americans, but works on getting stuff done. And that means compromise. And it doesn't mean compromising your values or your principles, but it does mean working to get stuff done. And I pledge to you I will do that.
Just to be clear, though, what he's referring to, and you point out to when you were running for vice president in 2020, you were not talking about banning fracking, but...
No, Anderson, I pledged that I would not ban fracking.
Right, I know. You said you would not ban fracking.
Correct.
You know, you had said in the 2019 town hall, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. In 2017, you talked about Medicare for all. You talked about 2019, raised a hand in debate about if border crossings should be decriminalized. Are all of those issues, which those are not your positions now, are all those issues that you're saying through consensus and getting stuff done you have evolved on?
Well, no, let's take, for example, the issue of Medicare. My point has always been that access to health care should not just be a privilege of those who can afford it. It should be a right for all people. So that is why I have worked on doing what we have done to, one, allow Medicare to negotiate
Which is what? What have you done? What have you done? Because the pharmaceutical company is still raping the United States when it comes to medications. They are still raping us financially. They don't rape the UK. They don't rape Canada or India or Africa. But they sure the fuck run us ragged on our soil, where the cost of production is cheaper because it's all here. So what have you done? Not a damn thing, as per usual.
against the big pharmaceutical companies to bring down the cost of prescription medication. We've achieved that in terms of capping the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, capping the cost of annual prescriptions at $2,000 a year for seniors. But my plan moving forward, based on that very principle that I've always had, is as president, to have that cap be for everyone and not just for our seniors. The work that I have done that has been about recognizing the importance of dealing with border security, that has never changed. As I said, I have prosecuted transnational criminal organizations. That I did for years before I ever ran in 2019.
I mean, you did raise your hand saying debate.
And like I said before, she did not. She did not, because she was in Northern California while all this was taking place in Southern California, which might as well have been a whole nother state, because, yeah, that's a lie. And two, you created the migrant issue with your guys' secret night flights and opening the border, violating your oath of office, and breaking federal law. Creating an app to make it easier for asylum seekers to create fraud on our asylum system, making it harder for those that really do want to come here the right way to come here, because you've pushed them down the line for these asylum frauds in order to get as many of them in here as possible to make it impossible to get them out. Just saying. You created the problem and you have nothing to fix it. You have no ideas on how to fix it, except do what Donald Trump did, and that's remain in Mexico and put up the wall. Gee, isn't that what Donald Trump did? Yeah, that is.
When asked if border crossing should be decriminalized, but obviously that is not your position.
I never intended, nor will I ever allow America to have a border that is not secure. I believe we need to deal with illegal immigration. There needs to be consequences, which is why
we've had 4 years of illegal immigration. Staggering numbers each month. Staggering. In 1 year, it was 11 million. It was reported 11 million in 1 year came across our border illegally, and they did catch and release with in 1 year. Are you
part of my plan that I have outlined? And again, please go to KamalaHarris.com. Sorry to throw a website on you, but why not? And you will see that part of my plan includes what we need to do to actually do more as it relates to putting resources in, including increasing penalties for illegal crossing.
And just finally on fracking, you said you're clear you would not ban it as president.
No, I would not ban it as president.
I know you're clear on that. Do you think it is bad for the environment?
I think that we have proven that we can invest in a clean energy economy. We can mitigate greenhouse gas emissions.
Issues. With the Supreme Court being plagued with issues, would you be in favor of expanding the court to say 12, so each justice has only one circuit court other than Chief Justice to assist in making judgments more balanced?
Well, to your point, there is no question that the American people increasingly are losing confidence in the Supreme Court. And in large part because of the behavior of certain members of that court and because of certain rulings, including the Dobbs decision and taking away a precedent that had been in place for 50 years, protecting a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. So I do believe that there should be some kind of reform of the court, and we can study what that actually looks like. But I do believe, but again, let's just, while you raise the point of the court, understand that, again, in 13 days, the American people will decide who is the next president of the United States. In 13 days, you will decide who is sitting in the Oval Office on January 20th. And on one hand, you have in Donald Trump someone who has increasingly proved.
If I had to drink every time she brought up Donald Trump, I would be drunk right now. Because that's how I ended up last night when I did this video the second time. I was so wasted. Well, I do agree that the Supreme Court has issues. They've been lazy, and they've been shirking their responsibility. They have not been doing their caseload. They have not been taking care of business. And I agree that there are some issues with our Supreme Court. They're afraid right now to make decisions because they know that as long as Biden and Harris are in office, any decision that they make in favor of the right, the left is going to chase them down at their houses and violate federal law and be allowed to get away with it. As long as the DOJ and the White House are under Democrat power, any decision they make will put their life in jeopardy, and they're not willing to take that risk anymore. So I understand why they're doing what they're doing. I respect it. I don't agree with it, but I respect it, and I understand it.
Himself to be unstable and who, as we have established and the people close to him have established, he is unfit to serve. Somebody who, plotting his revenge, plotting his retribution.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Anderson.
And thanks for watching. Thanks to all the voters here. Be sure to join CNN on November 5th for Election Night in America right here on CNN. Jake Tapper and Erin Burnett pick it up right now.
What was that? 3 people, 4 people got to ask questions? Trust me, they had those questions handed to them. It's the same question every time she does a town hall. Why is that? Because it's the only questions she got any competent answers to. And it's just fucking ridiculous that she can't answer any other questions beyond those 5 questions. So tell me what you think. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, because that puts my video out for everyone to see. Tell me what you think of my analysis. Tell me what you think about Kamala. Do you think she's competent in being able to handle the pressures of being president? Which, if you look at every president that's ever done 1 to 2 terms, how defeated they look towards the end and relieved that it's over, how they've aged dramatically. Do you think she would be competent and able to handle those pressures? Because I don't. I think on the world stage she's going to look like a child, and they're going to run circles around her. And I don't trust her to act on the best interest of the people, because she hasn't. Her track record has proven that. As vice president, she has been a shit show and a half when it comes to the needs and defending this nation. She doesn't give a shit about us. And as much as I dislike Donald Trump as a person, I respect his policies, I respect his love for this nation, his love for the Constitution, and his respect for the people. You tell me what you think.